Watch closely, and you'll see how he stayed hidden all these years. Sensei Garmadon to the Ninja. Hello, I'm Sensei the Dark Master, and in today's installment of The Lore of Ninjago, we shall be continuing our coverage of the elements of Ninjago, with today's topic being the elemental power of light. We shall be covering the element's history, those people, animal, and objects that have wielded its power, the abilities it grants a user, its weaknesses, the colors and symbols it is associated with, and much, much more. The history of the elemental power of light begins, as that of most other elements, with the first Spinjitzu master. A quick note, while sometimes referred to as light, the power the first Spinjitzu master wielded was actually a separate one, and an elemental essence known as golden power, which I've discussed before, and I suggest you watch that video if you want to know more. This light is separate though. He taught this elemental power to an individual who will become known as the first elemental master of light. Said person then passed on their elemental powers to his or her child, who then passed the elemental power to their child for over 100 generations, until it passed to a man known as Mr. Pale, who at some point before the series unlocked his true potential and became the current elemental master of light. At some point after the defeat of the Digital Overlord, he would be invited to the Tournament of Elements, held by the sinister Mr. Chen. Going to the Ninjago docks, he met the ninja and the other elemental masters before being taken by ferry to Chen's Island. He managed to easily survive the first round by getting a jade blade, and thanks to his powers was not eliminated. He would, the next morning, alongside the other elemental masters, watch 4 battles that took place during that day. First, there was Griffin Turner, the elemental master of speed, versus Gravis, the elemental master of gravity. Then there was Neuro, the elemental master of mind, versus Bolobo, the elemental master of nature. Then there was Kai, the ninja of fire, versus Ash, the elemental master of smoke. And most importantly, Cole, the earth ninja, versus Jay, the lightning ninja. Mr. Pale would in the next night participate in a roller derby against which he could attack Lloyd, but after Chen's maliciousness was revealed, he stood up for the ninja, and Mr. Pale from then on would be readily aiding the ninja until the final round, before being captured by Klaus and stripped of his powers briefly, until Master Chen's staff was destroyed by Kai and his powers were restored, as he used them to capture the majority of the Anachondrite cult. Sadly, Chen escaped and used his own daughter as a conduit, was able to cast the spell and achieve his goals, and turn his entire cult into a mighty Anachondrite army, and then left Mr. Pale after overwhelming them, as well as the other elemental masters, the ninja and their allies, on the island trapped, with all the vehicles destroyed. But thanks to Zane, he was able to overcome his fear and unlock the ability to summon the elemental light dragon that he used to escape. He would then aid the ninja with his abilities to fight in the Second Anachondrite War, and during the Battle of the Corridor of Elders, was able to halt the Anachondrites' advance long enough for Lord Garmadon to sacrifice himself to banish the cult into the Cursed Realm. Afterwards, he promised to help the ninja in future issues. Sadly, during the events of Skybound, Nauticon imprisoned Mr. Pale and other elemental masters and potentially gained access to his powers through the Jin Blade, so he didn't really help that much that time. During the events of Hunted, Mr. Pale would use the elemental power of light to help Lloyd's resistance against the resurrected Emperor Garmadon and his biker gang, the Sons of Garmadon. Skylar would copy his abilities and help the ninja after Mr. Pale had been captured. Now that we have concluded the element's history, let us discuss who has wielded this secondary elemental power. First, there was, of course, the first Spinjitzu master who created the element. Then there was the first elemental master of light. And then, most recently, there was Mr. Pale, who is the current elemental master of light. More obscure is the fact that thanks to the Staff of Elements, Master Chen could use the elemental power of light, which he used to help strip Lloyd of his powers. His daughter, Skylar, who was the elemental master of Amber, could access the power of light due to Amber's ability to copy other elemental powers, even if it's only for a limited time. In terms of creatures, there is only one, the elemental light dragon, which a user can summon when they overcome their fear. It is unique among the other elemental dragons because unlike them, it doesn't have a single color that it is associated with. This reflects the general notion that this element is, well, light and doesn't have a specific color. It is also rather stout. In terms of objects, there have been two. First, there was the Staff of Elements, which was constructed out of chronosteel and blue crystal. Now, individually, each of these substances can hold an elemental power, one of them, but combined, they can hold multiple of them. And then there was the Jin Blade, with which one could absorb the souls of people and grant their powers in a limited extent, though Nauticon doesn't seem to use this elemental power. In terms of abilities, the element bestows upon a user the primary one is photokinesis, with which one can create, shape, manipulate, and generate visible light. This includes a beam of light, or as huge blasts, or as orbs and bolts of light energy, which can be used in both combat purposes as well as illuminating dark places in a far more utilitarian manner. With photokinetic invisibility, the user can manipulate light in order to make part or all of themselves invisible, including clothes. One can also summon the elemental light dragon, though I've already discussed that for a bit, so I'm not going to go over it again, otherwise that would be redundant. The elemental power of light is often associated with white or treated as a colorless element, which makes sense given light really has no color. In fact, all colors are just parts of light that aren't absorbed, and also the fact that you can turn invisible. It doesn't really have a true symbol, but many in the fanbase consider Mr. Pale's medallion to be one. In terms of weaknesses, the invisibility can be easily countered with dust or another powdery substance. Also, the whole ability to light up dark places really only applies in dark places due to, well, it needing a dark place to light up. From the elemental power of light, we learn that our eyes can be rather easily deceived and that we must think before reacting so that we do not become blinded by life's strange turns and challenges. We learn that we must be able to see obstacles more than just visually, but also be able to analyze them analytically, and also to be skeptical of what we see, otherwise we can be easily deceived. I am Sensei the Dark Master, and join me next time on The Lore of Ninjago. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year!
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!